The personal website doesn't exist anymore. We have 3 apps and everyone hates them. We should get rid of them. We should stop. We should stop the platforms. Like right now. We should stop it right now. The problem with platforms is that if they get successful, then there is nothing else around them. And then that means they just can dictate what good art is. If you can be explosive, if you can capture attention for a second and you can stop people from scrolling, that's good art now. It's this in your face, like blam, just bah. And so much of what good art has been historically is not that. If you go to classic art and you look at it, is subtle. It invites you in. With art through social media, you have to rewire someone's frontal cortex to get them to pay attention to you now. There is this erosion these platforms have done to working, to making a product, to making a creative work especially. Everything has just become so commodified and the finances of everything completely disappears, essentially to be paid in exposure. And unfortunately, Instagram likes cannot be converted into cents and dollars. These same companies that own all of these social media platforms are also the same people that are forcing generative AI down our eye sockets. So they can just tell Grok to just generate a new image. And now that free artwork that you spent so long on can just be taken. You're barely getting paid in exposure. I've been a comic artist for about 6 years, and I started making comics with the intention of posting to the platform Webtoon. Everyone kind of has the wrong idea of what Webtoon is. Everyone's like, oh, it's a comic platform. That's not true at all. It's a social media platform that has comics on it. It is a completely different way of looking at it because good comic does not equal good social media post. The biggest comics there are the ones that are the broadest appealing, the biggest reaching. So if broadly appealing is essentially dictating the success of your comic, then that means that there is a very narrow view of what a good comic, what a successful comic can be. And there's so much around it where it just completely falls off the radar. There was this really promising comic company that was going to really compete with Webtoon, I thought, called Global Comics. Very quickly, Global Comics went from like a niche little thing that was for indie creators to the main place where people are reading comics like Invincible. That is not an inherent problem. Like companies have to get in money, they have to change, they have to improve. And, just a niche little indie audience is not enough to sustain a platform. It needs to grow. What I am criticizing them for is their recent tripling down on generative AI. Not only that, they recently acquired a different comic company, Inker, with the express purpose of using its AI translation tools. People have just been deleting their comics. All of the people that actually built this platform, built this website with their comics, bringing their audiences over into Global Comics. It's no longer for them. It's no longer for anyone that isn't a brand. There's no point to having the self-publish feature except to have more eyes, to have more people posting, which will make the amount of comics on the site bigger, which means that it's easier to get more investor money, and it just keeps going and going, and it's hollowing out. It is hollow. Global Comics is not the same company that it was last year. It's not the same company that it was 3 months ago. And that just is happening throughout the entire industry. Paramount is trying to buy Warner Bros. Those are two of the biggest media enterprises on the face of the planet. The same people that own TikTok now. They are just owning all media, which means that the longer that this progresses, the less voices are going to be heard, the less space will be made for art. It will just be the broadest appealing stuff, and there is a place for that. But not all media can be comfort. Not all art can be neatly packed away at the end of the day. There needs to be some grit, some friction in everyone's media diet, because otherwise you will be less critical if you do not have that. And that is a huge problem right now. There is a massive literacy crisis in America. the majority of adults in this country cannot understand subtext. They're going to get less capable of critical thinking if more of these companies keep emerging and merging and merging until it's the same one company, and it's called Amazon, Disney, Hulu, Blizzard, King, Microsoft, Radish. It's going to be this horrible nightmare that we're never going to wake up from. And I think the only way to do that is by, like trying to get everyone on the same page, trying to lead these platforms and try to find multiple different ways to exist on the internet. Invincible is one of the biggest shows right now, made by the biggest company on the face of the planet. And it's based on an indie comic. The creator still owns it, owns the rights, is actively involved in the show's production. And that goes to show, like, the mainstream will always accept what was once outside of it. But there has to be a movement, there has to be things put in motion so that there can be something to become mainstream one day. That, we can assert ourselves in these different ways to build something different, to build something that is better. And if we can all get on board and we can all find where we should go, where we need to go, we can just push out the old way of doing things. We can make something greater than all of us. Like, we need to take something away from them. We need to pick and choose. First off, we need to start with just choosing one or two social media apps to stay on. And I think we have to move back into personal sites. You can find tools that are more specific to your niche instead of using these broadest ones. I also think trying to use these international digital platforms to try to make a local community would be a huge benefit to everyone involved. It won't work for everyone, especially if you're in like a really, really small town. But I think trying to build something that is much more tangible like that, real face-to-face connections, there is a collective action that can be taken by all of us. That's why I really do see a light at the end of the tunnel for all these things. We just need to know where to find each other. And dear God, do not let it be on a Discord server. Luna, do you have any thoughts for the end of the video? Do you have anything you want to say? Stella, you got anything you want to say for the end of the video? You want anyone to thank? Any comics to promote? Maybe anything? You guys haven't read it, have you? You guys haven't read Part-Time at the Yaoi Cafe, out now on Webtoon Canvas. I always knew you were homophobic.